Hi, this is Macy. Blake Lively's abrupt departure from the country has become the subject of rampant speculation, rocking an industry already grappling with a swirl of controversy. For months, behind-the-scenes tension between Blake and director Justin Baldoni loomed, punctuated by rumors, leaked texts, and shifting public sympathies. Yet none of that prepared fans or insiders for the shock of Blake hastily packing her bags and vanishing abroad on the very day Justin dropped a fresh batch of damaging evidence. In an era where rumors can spread faster than a press release, the suddenness of her flight set off a firestorm. Was she dodging accountability, preserving her personal privacy, or both? The roots of this drama go back to the earliest days of a film project Justin was spearheading, one widely anticipated due to his track record for thoughtful, emotive storytelling. Blake's casting seemed like an elegant fit. She carried an established reputation for polished performances and a knack for winning over fans. Initially, word from the set suggested a spirit of collaboration, with Justin praising her enthusiasm and Blake making lighthearted remarks about how fulfilling it was to be part of such a meaningful adaptation. At the time, there was little hint of trouble, yet as cameras rolled, murmurs arose. Crew members whispered that Blake, typically perceived as accommodating, looked tense in interactions with Justin, who was not only directing, but had co-written the screenplay and planned to star. Some wondered if that combination of roles felt stifling to an actor used to more input. Over a period of weeks, subtle changes in her demeanor became evident. She would occasionally offer half-hearted remarks about the intensity of Justin's vision, or cast sidelong glances whenever he was singled out for praise. It is important in times like these to have I'm grateful. I think we're all grateful. And I think we're good. Initially, fans dismissed such reports as trivial, an unavoidable byproduct of professional differences on a busy set. The friction might have remained backstage if not for a sudden flurry of negative press, portraying Blake as difficult and aloof. She wasted no time countering with a bold claim. Justin was using his directorial influence to manipulate coverage, tarnishing her public image to maintain an upper hand in creative decisions. In a climate newly attuned to media spin, her claims resonated with many. She described an environment where her concerns were brushed off, painting Justin as ignoring her perspective in favor of a near monopoly on decision-making. For a while, public sympathy largely sided with Blake. Numerous observers felt that her frustrations might be a reflection of deeper systemic issues, in which male directors sometimes overshadow female leads. That narrative wobbled when Justin pushed back with lengthy, unredacted text logs. Far from ignoring or dismissing Blake, these conversations showed him regularly consulting her on changes, actively requesting her feedback, and moving schedules around to accommodate her preferences. A different portrait emerged, one of a director who consistently aimed for harmony but found himself baffled by her sudden antagonism. Within the logs, fans also noticed references suggesting that Blake had threatened to wield her substantial influence, and that of her widely admired spouse, Ryan Reynolds, if Justin didn't align with her ideas. After reading these threads, many onlookers began to question whether the earlier coverage had, indeed, been planted or spun to depict Justin as a more domineering figure than he actually was. While the tension between Blake and Justin escalated, the focus shifted. Some observers pointed to Ryan's possible role, given how often Blake's messages mentioned him as one of her dragons. Though never fully explained, the term implied she had powerful allies she could summon for support in disputes. Speculation ran wild. Had Ryan been quietly helping to frame Justin in a negative light, or, at a minimum, used his comedic star power to guide the narrative? But as the internet buzzed about Ryan's potential involvement, the drama's center of gravity snapped back to Blake when her own attorney abruptly resigned, issuing a perplexing statement hinting that her story diverged from documented facts. Industry insiders viewed this move as extraordinary because in Hollywood, attorneys typically manage controversies discreetly rather than calling their clients' claims into question. That alone would have been enough to fuel headlines. But then Justin followed through on a promise to release further context if Blake persisted in painting him as dismissive or manipulative. True to his word, he unveiled more text messages, what he labeled new receipts, capturing extended conversations. These documents, thicker and more detailed than before, seem to capture the entire timeline of interactions from the earliest days of pre-production to the moment cameras wrapped. Within them, readers saw not only that Justin had been conscientious, but that he'd repeatedly tried to diffuse any tension with Blake through open conversations, urging her to express concerns directly. Several segments revealed him apologizing for unintended oversights, offering scheduling changes, or clarifying he wanted her creative input. According to multiple staff members who later spoke anonymously, the environment seemed collaborative for months, at least from the director's side. What truly rocked the industry was the revelation of certain messages Blake had sent to confidants, possibly referencing strategies to call out imagined flaws in Justin's leadership, if it suited her broader aims. Specifically, these messages hinted at how she might time revelations about postpartum anxieties or production safety concerns to coincide with big promotional milestones for the film, effectively overshadowing the positive buzz Justin hoped to generate. While no explicit mention of Ryan's direct involvement surfaced in this particular wave of logs, references to My Circle and her dragons popped up again, suggesting she felt confident she could summon external resources to bolster her claims. Shortly after these new receipts landed in the public sphere, Blake was suddenly gone. Reports emerged that she had canceled multiple engagements without explanation, including a key promotional event for a separate project. Staff at her management company refused comment, intensifying curiosity. Within hours, flight manifest leaks suggested she boarded a private jet with minimal luggage and a skeleton entourage. Photos of her at an airport lounge wearing dark sunglasses and a hat pulled low soon surfaced. Observers described her as visibly tense, avoiding the typical wave or friendly banter that usually characterized her public airport sightings. Speculation ran rampant. Was Blake fleeing legal entanglements tied to the revelations, or was she genuinely overwhelmed, seeking space to recover from a public crisis that now seemed poised to engulf her? Public opinions splintered. Some fans expressed compassion, arguing that even if new evidence cast doubt on her claims, the avalanche of negative attention might feel unbearable. Others labeled the move suspicious. Several pointed out that if Blake felt confident in her position, the better strategy might be to address Justin's receipts directly, rather than slip out of reach just as the controversy exploded anew. Justin Baldoni's reaction to her departure was tempered, yet pointed. He reiterated that his chief desire all along was to protect the film's creative integrity and his own professional reputation. Publicly, he said he regretted that events had escalated so dramatically that Blake felt compelled to leave. At the same time, he acknowledged that if the newly released messages were accurate, they left little question about the real source of negative spin. Meanwhile, the effect on Ryan Reynolds became impossible to ignore. Already rumored to have been working behind the scenes with Blake to discredit Justin, he now found himself facing the aftermath of her abrupt exit. Online chatter questioned whether Ryan might follow her abroad or remain stateside to manage the fallout. Rumors circulated that he was frantically making calls to PR and legal advisors, seeking a way to limit career damage. In a comedic star's worst nightmare, the headlines stopped focusing on fun banter or upcoming projects, and instead showcased damaging lines from text threads or speculation about whether he aided Blake's behind-the-scenes tactics. In the aftermath, T.J. Miller, the actor who had previously emerged with allegations indicating Ryan's deeper involvement, took a step back, at least temporarily. He refrained from releasing further revelations about Ryan or Blake, telling interviewers that he felt it was better to let each wave of fresh evidence speak for itself. He expressed a degree of validation, since many had doubted his motives, but the new receipts from Justin seemed to confirm major pieces of TJ's account, particularly the references to orchestrated media hits or timed leaks that might sabotage Justin's film from within. Producers hinted at rethinking upcoming deals with them. Public perception matters, remarked one anonymous executive. When two A-listers are suspected of covertly smearing a director, studios get jittery. Projects require trust, and once an actor's behind-the-scenes conduct seems too unpredictable, partnerships become high risk. Fans, too, felt the sting of disillusionment. Social media discussions devolved into heated debates between those who believed the new receipts were definitive proof of Blake's manipulations, and supporters who insisted context was still missing. Some speculated that her flight was purely a measure of emotional self-defense after feeling ostracized. Others believed it was a calculated move to escape scrutiny or avoid potential legal ramifications if Justin or others decided to press defamation claims. Conspiracy theories flourished. Everything from she's regrouping with Ryan in a remote location to she's planning a tell-all from exile, though no concrete evidence backed such extremes. Behind the scenes, staff on Justin's film expressed relief that the truth as they saw it had finally come out. Many had grown frustrated by negative headlines overshadowing their sincere efforts to produce a meaningful, emotionally resonant adaptation. Some confided that while small conflicts cropped up on set, hardly unusual in a demanding production, nothing merited the media whirlwind that sprang up once rumors of Justin's alleged inattentiveness circulated. By revealing the extended text logs, Justin not only cleared his name, but also vindicated crew members who'd quietly supported him, stifling their own doubts about whether they would be believed if they spoke up. Questions abounded regarding how and where Blake had fled. Airport sightings posted by fans on social media placed her in a European city known for luxurious retreats, frequented by celebrities in crisis. At one posh hotel, a staff member confessed to seeing someone who strongly resembled Blake Lively, wearing large sunglasses, checking in under a different name. Paparazzi prowled the area, only to find no sign of her. Speculation about potential next moves soared. If she truly wanted privacy, might she venture deeper into quiet locales, away from all paparazzi hotspots? Or was she orchestrating a triumphant return once the dust settled, armed with an explanation for why Justin's logs allegedly misconstrued her motives? The swirling chaos left many reflecting on the precarious nature of star power. Just a few months earlier, Blake had seemed bulletproof, lauded for her comedic flair in interviews, her philanthropic gestures, and her near-perfect social media presence. Now that facade showed cracks. The abrupt exit from the country, timed so closely to Justin's release of fresh evidence, carried a sense of finality that overshadowed everything else, from her personal brand partnerships to speculation about upcoming roles. In Hollywood, reputations can pivot with frightening speed, especially when the illusions of cooperative artistry give way to revelations of strategic leaks and potential spin campaigns. Meanwhile, Justin used the spotlight to reaffirm that the film would reach completion and distribution as planned. He refused to let the scandal define the project. In media Q&A, he contended that although the escapade with Blake had overshadowed production, the story at the heart of the adaptation remained worthy of an audience's attention. Cast members came forward praising Justin's leadership and calm steadiness, contrasting it with the swirl of allegations. Some even labeled the entire fiasco a cautionary tale, reminding both industry pros and fans that the manipulative potential of star power can overshadow genuine creative work if left unchecked. Where all of this leaves Blake is uncertain. If her intention was to ride out the storm from afar until public scrutiny waned, she may find the conversation persists longer than anticipated. The new receipts Justin dropped have breathed life into the story, fueling fresh coverage that frames her departure as a direct result of damaging revelations she could not rebut. Some pundits hypothesized that in a few months, she might attempt a carefully managed PR comeback, offering contrition or clarifications about the context of her disputed text messages. Others suspect she may remain out of sight indefinitely, focusing on personal matters until the industry finds a new controversy to latch onto. Observers also wondered about Ryan's immediate future. With Blake overseas, presumably somewhere off the paparazzi map, would he stay in the US and handle the blowback alone, or join her in a strategic retreat? If he too vanished, it might cement the public's impression that this was a meticulously choreographed flight from accountability. Already, press coverage singled him out for refusing to address claims about the dragons his wife reportedly referenced. The speculation ran wild. Was the couple's famed comedic banter online just a thin veneer over more calculated backstage maneuvers? TJ Miller, after the dust from his initial disclosures began to settle, confirmed that some of the new receipts match references he'd heard about but never fully seen. He expressed partial relief. Justin's thorough logs provided the corroboration TJ had lacked, finally rooting the allegations in indisputable fact. TJ stressed that his role was never to cast blame on everyone or ignite chaos, but to bring honesty to a scenario filled with misdirection. In interviews, he lamented that Blake felt so cornered she had to flee, but insisted the impetus lay in her own behind-the-scenes actions, not in any vendetta on his or Justin's part. Industry watchers say it may take months, if not years, for the dust to truly settle. Hollywood does love a redemption arc, and some believe Blake could eventually stage a return if she addresses the controversies head-on. Yet the sheer scale of Justin's newly dropped evidence complicates any straightforward path to rehabilitation. If the logs demonstrate a pattern of contrivance, fans and colleagues may find it hard to reconcile that with the sincere, friendly image Blake once projected. A few insiders wondered aloud if Blake's abrupt exit might actually trigger a wave of sympathy from certain quarters. After all, the entertainment world can be a pressure cooker, and the psychological toll of public scandal is significant. To them, her flight could symbolize a desperate move to shield herself from unrelenting coverage rather than a cold, calculated maneuver. Yet, that nuance may be overshadowed by countless headlines framing her departure as a tacit admission of culpability. Regardless of how Blake's flight is interpreted, the entire saga underscores how quickly alliances can crumble when private messages see daylight. Justin's repeated calls for civility, disclaimers that he harbored no ill will, and ongoing attempts to keep the film's best interests at heart resonate with an industry increasingly wary of star tantrums. While it remains uncertain whether those text messages were truly the final straw that compelled Blake to vanish into a foreign refuge, the timing points unmistakably to a direct link. Her name, once synonymous with red carpet glamour and playful public banter, now conjures associations with controversy, spin, and ultimately, an unceremonious exit to an undisclosed location. As days turn into weeks, fans await any sign of Blake's presence. Be it an earnest social media post, a leaked paparazzi snapshot in some picturesque locale, or a formal statement clarifying her reasons for leaving. In the absence of definitive explanations, theories and gossip multiply, casting her in roles as varied as strategic mastermind to beleaguered victim. Justin, for his part, appears resolved to keep forging ahead, wrapping up the film's final stages and hoping the finished product reclaims the headlines. TJ remains in watchful mode, prepared to speak further if conflicting versions of events crop up, and so the story continues, weaving a cautionary tapestry about Hollywood illusions, where even the most revered stars can find themselves exiled, literally, when new receipts emerge to challenge the stories they have carefully spun. Blake's sudden departure stands as a stark reminder. In the realm of big-budget projects and tight-knit creative teams, truth, or even the perception of it, can shift on a dime. One day, you're the well-loved face of a promising project. The next, you're quietly boarding a plane, hoping distance will quell a tempest fueled by text logs, pointed revelations, and a dogged director who refuses to let distortions overshadow the work at hand.